Hey, what's up, guys? So, I was thinking today about circumstance and luck and chance and how that's really an illusion, you know? People try to attribute the acts and the means that happen in life to something other than God because I feel like a lot of the time people have their pride in the way of acknowledging what truly is the reason for the way things are going, whether bad or good, you know? A lot of the times when things are going well for you, you have to take it in the context of God. You know, are you doing good in a material sense, but spiritually you're not? Or are you doing good in a spiritual sense, but materially you're not, you know? Because if you're doing good in a spiritual sense, it doesn't matter what else is happening. It really doesn't. As long as your connection with God is right and you know that you're following your purpose, all the rest of it will line up so that you'll be able to achieve that purpose. Now, I know what this image is, but don't worry about that. Don't worry about what the image really is about. Just look at what's going on here. You have all these people with one person seated in the middle offering up all these things. And they have these scrolls in their hands, you know? Imagine yourself as that person in the chair with all these people, you know, at your beck and call. That's basically what it's like. You know, that's what it's like. Whatever you ask for, you can get it. But you don't always know what you want. You know, not really. People think they know what they want, but when they get it, they don't like it. And so if you have a close connection with God and God, you know, God speaks to you and you speak to God and you pray and you actively try to have a relationship, you will find that a lot of things happen that you don't necessarily understand at first, but as time goes on and you look back, it'll make complete sense and you'll understand that God was the one who did that. You may think, oh, well, I'm the reason I got that job. I'm the reason that I made this marriage work. I'm the reason that this happened and that happened. I went out there and preached. I did this and I did that. Well, there is no I except I am. The one true Holy Spirit who lives in every single man, woman, and child. That is all. There is no I. There is no ego. It's an illusion. You as you are in your body and who you are as a person is simply a representation of the world's view of you. It's who you were genetically, it's who you were as you were raised, even how you speak, your mannerisms. All those things are of the world. The only thing that's of God is your spirit. And so if you do things to serve your body, you're not serving God. So understand that when bad things happen materially that leads you down a certain path, you have to take the perspective that it's like it's God doing that. It's not, you know, it's not a bad thing necessarily. If you have a harmonious perspective with God and you understand that things that happen aren't for luck or chance, but they are purposefully done to lead you down a certain path, everything in your life will become a lot less anxiety inducing. Now, I'm not saying you're not gonna feel anxiety. I'm not saying it's gonna get any easier, like materially easier, like your head's gonna stop hurting, or you're suddenly gonna be healed. Although that's completely possible, and I'm not saying it's not. But don't expect those things in particular. You know, you can ask God for that, and He can do it. But if it doesn't happen, just know that the reason why it didn't happen was for a good reason. Because God had to send you down this certain path in order for you to develop spiritually. Because otherwise, if He were to heal your leg, but you get sent to hell, like, that's no good. What was the point of that? You know, it was completely intuitive. You know, what would a man gain if he were to gain the whole world but lose, his eternal soul? He would gain nothing. You know, if you're in a video game and you're playing a video game, but you can't pay your rent. But in the video game, you're leveling up, but you can't pay your rent and you're getting kicked out of your house. Would you say that you're successful or not successful? Same thing. If you're in the world and you're doing bad deeds and you're, doing good materially, but you're corrupt in your spirit and you know that you're not headed in the right direction, that's, have you really done anything? Have you moved a single inch? I don't think so. At least I wouldn't. That's my opinion. I'm not saying God's going to send you to hell, but you're going to send yourself to hell through the circumstances that you make for yourself. You're going to demand so much through your actions that God is going to give you up to them, and He's going to let you have the things that you think you want. You're going to end up in hell because the whole concept of what you want, when you really get it, most of the time you end up, if you want bad things, materially, you end up in a situation that, you could have never imagined. It's like no amount is enough to satisfy anyone. There's not enough money, there's not enough hamburgers, there's not enough women or men for sexual pleasure out there to satisfy you. The only thing that can satisfy you is God. That's it. There's nothing else out there that is going to be able to give you that feeling that you're looking for. So if you're looking for that feeling of wholeness, completeness, love, satisfaction, pleasure, it's all through the divine. You have to pray and speak to God in order to get that. Because the true pleasure and the true happiness is only through that path. There's only one way out of here. And I take from a Christian perspective, I can't say anything else about any other perspective, but I'm not saying that there's no other way towards that path. Like, many paths lead to one. God is a God of many names, but that one path up is the only path towards happiness and ultimate, fulfillment, both in this life and in the next. It's not, you're not waiting for something in the next life necessarily. You're not sitting here like, oh, when am I going to die? When is God going to take me to the next place? You got to be able to handle what you got here, brother. You got to be able to deal with what you got here. How can you be given more power if you can't handle the power that you have here, You got to be able to handle up on your own life and handle up on your own spiritual responsibilities here first before you're going to be able to move on and have spiritual responsibility in the kingdom of heaven. You can't be trusted. You can't be trusted to have that kind of power and responsibility if you're not able to handle the little bit that you have here. And I know this place is torturous. I know it sucks. That's the point, kind of, It's bad because by how bad it is, there must be a better place. You're not satisfied enough to not want to seek God. You're dissatisfied. And so you're constantly moving in the direction of God because you're always wanting to seek the most pleasurable thing just by your nature. And intuitively, spiritually, internally, you know that going towards God is the true pleasure. And so you may go on tangents where you go seeking pleasure in other ways to kind of satisfy that without doing the real work because you've kind of hit a blockage, But if you pray about it and you talk to God, God will clear that blockage for you and He'll allow you to continue on. There's nothing in this world that will stop you from coming to God if you really want it. Nothing. It's impossible because God commands all things. God will literally move mountains out of the way for you in order for you to get to Him. And when I say that, I don't mean a mountain's gonna like uproot and float over 2 miles to let you through, although it might. I don't know. It just may. I don't know what's coming, in the days. I have no clue. However, it's usually more like, okay, this person, you were set to do this or set to live in a certain place, let's say, but there was something there that was preventing you. Well, some kind of circumstance will happen that will clear that up for you. Like, you're going to church, right? And you're on your way to church and your car breaks down. But it just so happens that someone is along the way and sees you that and picks you up and takes you to church and brings you back, Like, it'll seem like there's a circumstance and a chain of events that led to that, but in reality, that's how God works, is through circumstance, you know? He works through the chain of events. His hand moves in mysterious ways. That's what that means, you know? You may see it as the world doing something, but God sent that command from up high, and he made it happen through that, because you can't perceive God's motion. You know, you are incapable. It says in the Bible that no one man has seen God at any time. So you're not going to be able to really see how that happens, but you can know it by the end result. You know a tree by its fruit. You know when God had his hand in something by the end result of it. And God has his hand in all things. So by the end result of your life and, coming to judgment, judgment seems like such an intimidating word, but won't it be such a release? Right? Won't it be so comforting and calming to know that all these things would finally come to a conclusion? God has already had your dues paid by his son, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ came and sacrificed himself, so when you come to the day of judgment before God, you don't have to worry about anything, you know? And as long as you want to do good, as long as you're moving forward in that direction, you will come before God and you will be able to make it into the kingdom of heaven. That's all that it means. Jesus has already paid the price. But if you're doing bad things and you don't want to go there, God can't impede upon your own free will. He's not a tyrant. God gives you what you want, like I said. So you just have to make sure you're headed in the right direction. You're thinking about God, you have him in your heart, and you just consider him on a daily basis or as much as you can. I know everyone's faith wavers. Mine too. It goes here and there, and it ebbs and flows. And some days I feel better than others, and that's just how it is here in this world. We're just men and women, and we all have flaws, and we're all imperfect. But our imperfection is made perfect through our faith in God, because our imperfection is proof that God is sovereign over all men, because he had the power to send down his only son in order to save us from that imperfection. And so within that, it shows God's power. In everything, it shows God's power. And I want you to know that God is rooting for you. Think about that. God, G-O-D, big G God, is rooting for you, specifically, all of us. He can do that. God can root for every man, woman, and child individually on their own terms, because he's omnipotent. So never think you're out here alone, or that you don't have an ally. You have the only ally that matters in this place. You have the greatest ally. That's it. So don't trip. You know what I mean? Keep up the good work. Keep on the path, man, and make sure that you give God a thought at least once per day. If you can manage. I'm not saying that like sarcastically. I'm serious. I know it's difficult. I know it's hard to keep your mind on those things because there's so many distractions and so much, BS going on. But please, I say this to myself too. Please try to keep your eye on God, at least in your peripheral vision at all times. God bless you guys. Thank you so much.